Right, so Monday evening, to the surprise of absolutely nobody, we have not encountered police today. So despite them once again being down the road, they haven't bothered to show up. The people in Birmingham haven't bothered to contact them. I remember the days when Twitter, before it became X, it was the done thing to go to a company you had a grievance with and sort of type it into there. And because it was such a popular place to do that kind of thing, a person would be hot on it to resolve whatever complaints would have. In the modern world, though, you've got to think when Birmingham's court officers are repeatedly sitting on various edible locations and saying, well, normally we're quite used to getting the police in for various matters. Just on this occasion, a sort of leisure centre manager has decided that it's not their quote-unquote policy to get the police in when the policy would see Southall being arrested. You've got this sort of low-level thuggery and corruption up until the sort of more serious stuff. But the issue is, you're thinking in terms of civilizations at this point, so it's come from America. So you're pinned in place in 2020 by the physical aspects. So, you're walking around Tesco's with a shopping trolley thinking, well, I'm probably going to get drafted at any moment, to getting hit by the Crenshaw-wrist weapon from the west. So that's coming into Birmingham servers effectively. So you've got all the messaging coming through as the Entrance project starts. So we're hunkering down in the court service. And you're thinking, well, this is quite good for it. It doesn't make any sense anyway. The discourse is so ridiculous for a start. You didn't use the W word in Britain before that. You were English, Welsh, whatever it was. And this thing was totally new coming in, so it sounded odd to the ear. So it was easy to pick out. And we were instantly, because we are, the McGraths hot on it, so we were taking the piss out of a director during that time. So Peter Bishop has got to do something. You find this American psychopath woman who comes up with the concept of quote unquote white woman's tears, which is the concept that if a quit attacks someone and someone bursts into tears, this is not their emotional reaction to being abused. This is some kind of pathology based on Crenshawism using postmodernism to gain power. So you can think of the logic, as to what that infers. But a director posts this, I say, well, don't ever do this at work again. And he says something like, we will have to value each other's opinion, this kind of stuff, and then runs away to the council house with his solicitor and vanishes. But Bishop could do that because he's a director and he was able to draw a director's salary and was doing okay for himself, I'm sure, in the times of good, but he's willing to throw various people under the bus while fucking off out of Birmingham. So if the current discourse is people like Downs are being looked at and scolded for his naughty behaviour, well, he hasn't had a chance to have a life, has he? He's a young kid, in many respects. You go and see some of these people and they seem quite mature for their age. But when you hear them in the 20s, you think, wow, okay, so my start was not half it was in need of being, but given what they're faced with at the moment, and I feel for them quite a bit in many respects. But getting off topic, the current situation in Birmingham is so transparently ridiculous that a child can see through it. If you're working in Birmingham's court service and it is impossible to get police who are not doing a theatre performance, then clearly that is not how the city can run. And when the current head of West Midlands Police is also apologising to some struggle session and not responding to his own court officers, then that would suggest something has gone wrong now, doesn't it? So when, in the not too distant past, I was down south, I never halt by the horse's head, having not strangled a lord, by various members of people who are clearly members of the security services. It should probably be inferred by the British state that the danger is coming from Birmingham City Council in a sort of Benjamin Boyce stroke Ruffo's sense. So catching these people is not exactly hard because we've done it and we've been doing it for several years. The problem is nobody outside the bureaucracy is engaging because they're looking at what job I did or they think I did and they can't pass what I am. So they're behaving in a very, very silly fashion and getting themselves into escalating trouble as time goes by. So if I say to somebody in the street here, go and fetch police, and they don't, then at some point someone's going to have to intervene if you haven't been in Birmingham since November, and these people potentially could, then what have you been doing? So you can't expect me to continue going to an Edinburgh police station where we're being met with hostile idiots who can't answer anything, or Edinburgh police standards who don't reply. You can't expect me to reply to things when you're refusing to allow legal representation. So McGrath and Co have had an email from me saying, can I have a solicitor please? They're not responding to me. I cannot be expected to respond to a woman who's been attacking me for 43 years. I cannot be expected to respond to a local authority who's full of very dangerous people. And I cannot be expected to respond to West Midlands Police when none of them can confirm the security of the piece of shrapnel that is currently in my possession. If any of these facts are disputed, then you're welcome to do so. Please actually engage. But again, I can confirm for the record at the time of recording and banging into a, again, nuclear defended server somewhere, there has been no contact with anybody in actual authority at all today, despite us trying to request such a thing for several months. So I apologise if this is a bit of a run-on statement, but the position they're in is so absurd, it does beg a belief. And I do thank the lady and gentleman yesterday for selling me the great clean one, because upgrading the Aurus to represent the managing director of Birmingham Council is pretty appropriate. The gigantic, disgusting Howden thinks she can behave like this in any kind of fashion, in any kind of public body. Though when it comes out as to what she's been doing and the sort of things she's been involved in, that she's looking at serious jail time, if not worse. And this is the sort of stuff that probably in the Trump era should put you on a no-fly list or some kind of sanctions regime. If they're going to sanction members of the British government, people who deliberately encouraged an invasion of Britain and therefore created a migration draw into the continent and therefore potentially obstructed the entire Anglosphere, are the sort of people who have committed what is called treason, haven't they? So treason laws were, I think, done away by Blair. So if you can get those back via there we go, in Edinburgh they always keep the streets clean. But any type of intervention at all, so I've lost the train of thought. But yes, intervention in Birmingham, please. So if you live in Birmingham, or you see this, or you know about Birmingham, you've heard about Birmingham, you've ever seen an Asmongold video, call 101. Ask for West Midlands Police and see if they can locate various people like Deborah Agentieri, Jennifer Southall, see if they can physically see these people with their primate eyes, point them out to police and try and establish why a member of a compliance department involved with money, audit, that sort of thing are now hiding, when you're saying they will need to have a discussion with the commissioners regarding their capability and things of that nature, and this is going to go to criminal liability and severe personal damages. So go and do it, please. Go and fetch police. 101, West Midlands Police. The guys at Sutton Coldfield Police are pretty worthless. Other part of the city may be more worthwhile, but they have to not surrender to the Islamists, which is the problem. So Sutton Police has to have a division that is not answerable to any kind of Muslim-based police network. If they can scream and yell at them, threaten whatever they like, I'm sorry, this unit does not care what you think. If it doesn't have that unit, then it's quite clear why West Midlands Police cannot function. And this is a logical statement of the incoming head of West Midlands Police. But his problem again is the Islamo-Hegelianism alliance thing. So he already capitulated to the struggle session. He apologised, so it lowers his authority. And as Lindsay says, in a Havlicek sense, you never apologise, you never say sorry, you always say no, sorry, I understand the strategy, no, then it doesn't work and you can bark back at them and maintain your authority. But anyway, that's something for him to answer. But we'll get this off. That was Monday, right? So this is again part of Monday's work. Get something sent off into their servers again tomorrow. Try and again think of ways to get the revenue streams open back up. Maybe try and get property up north. Speak with colleagues again about various matters, staying healthy, keeping the larder stocked, that kind of stuff. But if you want pragmatic help other than calling police, it's case reviews for most council housing tenants. So you've got 54,000 properties, people being probably unjustly removed from their homes at the moment because of the way the department is functioning. So you have to go down to the court, have a chat with these people, talk to the duty solicitor and say, well, do you know, have a look at this stuff. This guy's saying, well, if possession order is requested, get him on a Teams recording, he'll help you do a case review, and it's likely that the judge can either adjourn or say to the council, well, the person who does your possession order is here on the bench saying, well, you can't legally do this stuff because of the levels of violence, total dysfunction, theft, corruption and various other things in the enforcement department. There you go, this shouldn't have been requested in the first place. No, you're not getting costs either, and plus costs awarded for wasting the court's time and this kind of thing. The managing director might actually start getting justice because that's what's happened. She's interfered in the court process by going along with the silly nonsense further after being told to stop, and this has caused a problem with Birmingham's court service and the courts itself, because this is now going to waste everyone's time with the silly American nonsense still being pumped out by British bureaucrats rather than handing themselves in for going along with the 2020 incursion. So not bad for the head of the McGraths. I mean, you say, what have you accomplished over 17 years in working in Birmingham? Well, if you do the job sort of a mental window in one window, you grey rock a little narc and you think to yourself and do your own work, then you can do stuff like this kind of off the cuff, aren't you? Oh right, it's Islamo-Hegelian nonsense, leave, get out of the compliance department, out.